Namaskar. Hello and welcome to 𝗣𝗚𝘅 channel. I'm your host Sree Iyer. Joining me today is Sree Iyer 𝗤𝘆 and we are going to be talking about what is happening around the world. A lot of new stunning developments. Couple of things that did not make it to our script, but I'm just going to mention is this earthquake in China, northwest part. What at least 128 feared dead. We are still awaiting details. We'll touch upon it if time permits, but there's a lot to cover. Let's welcome Sree Iyer 𝗤𝘆. Sree Iyer ji, namaskar and welcome to 𝗣𝗚𝘅 channel.
Namaskar and good morning to everybody.
Sree Iyer ji, first off, this Pakistan's reach into the Biden administration. Everybody has been talking about China's deep connects inside the United States, but this has just come quietly, Sree Iyer ji.
Well, I think that based on what happened in the 2016 to 2020 period, Pakistan has done an exceptionally good job in conjunction with CAIR in establishing their footprint. So their footprint is quite deep. The numbers ranges anything from, on the lower side, 500 to even 1,000 and 1,000 plus across the administration in some of the major and very critical roles within the administration in the policy making framework. One of the shows will cover the footprint in the Federal Communication Commission, Telecommunication Commission, and then FTC. Then we'll cover, you already covered the State Department, but it's not just confined those two. It's also in National Security and Department of Defense and, other strategic areas. So they have covered themselves well. Because they suffered the consequences of whatever their actions were with not only trade, but several bilateral agreements getting terminated or exited along with in 2018 and subsequent the Afghan withdrawal. So they have now got their footprint very deep, and you can see the names, very famous names or many names right throughout the administration. And that's what is recrafting much of the developments taking place within the Biden administration.
And viewers, this is only going to get worse, especially for India, because everyone expects Modi to come back in 2024. And clearly, India has realized this. At a certain level, intuitively, India has realized this. That's why you see this outrage about Pannu. That's why you see this 𝗤𝘆𝐼𝑅. There is a Hindu in name only, Hino. Anurima Bhargava, if I remember correctly. This person doesn't even grace the people who send her questions with even an email response, leave alone picking up the phone and talking. All these dubious appointments, these are all people who, I don't know, the less said, the better, I guess. So these are all some of the things that you need to be understanding. And we are the first ones. Perhaps we'll be the only ones, Sree Iyer ji, who will be shining a torchlight into all these crevices inside the Biden administration to show you, look, even if Biden goes tomorrow, many of these people are going to still stay. So it would not make a difference if Republicans come back to power. These guys are not fireable unless the entire department is fired. The law says that you cannot fire individuals from the government, but you can entirely get rid of a complete department. Something like that will have to happen. I don't know whether it's going to happen or not. Sree Iyer ji, thank you so much for putting this out. Viewers, please like this video, because again, I said we don't know what kind of filters will be put on this kind of a video. At least at this point of time, this is live. Please do watch it. And now we are going to go to our slide deck. It's very, very small set of 7 slides. Sree Iyer ji is going to go through them, especially in Israel as well as in the Gulf. There's a lot of action going on. Over to Sree Iyer ji. We'll start the slide deck now, sir, with your permission.
Well, I think the most important developments in Israel, apart from this money that they have seized in cash, which should not be a surprise in one of the Hamas locations, U.S. Defense Secretary did make it to Israel, and he had a joint press conference with Benjamin Netanyahu. Is very important. 2 important observations out of that conference. The first observation is that he has advised Israel, which is in public, that, make your strikes surgical rather than creating a lot of collateral damages, which indirectly creates or directly creates problems for Israel and its current campaign. That's number one. The second one that he announced is the formation of what we call the Operation Prosperity Guardian Maritime Defense Force. This is a small force which of commandos and ships which operates out of the 5th Fleet, which is located in Bahrain, that has now been launched effectively to protect the corridor which connects Mediterranean through Suez Canal into Red Sea and out into Gulf of Aden. So they have launched that. It is a coalition of 39 countries reflecting the importance. And this was also touched upon by Benjamin Netanyahu, which is to say that there is no way you guys can try to choke that canal or choke the trade route. The third most important thing that happened which is again, I don't know whether we can share the video clips. We may not be able to, but there was a major hack attack launched by what they call as the predatory sparrow from Israel, which took out gas stations in Iran, and 70% of the gas stations were out, and people could not fill their gas at the gas stations, demonstrating to Iranians that if they continue, that more devastating damage is to follow, and to watch out and get out rather than continuing the proxy war. Sree. So those are the very, very important developments. And then the Houthi drone attacks itself, there are developing theories that whether it is a coordinated effort by Russia, China, and other forces to choke the oil supply. Fortunately, the future oil prices went up a small blip, about 2%, and then they're actually trading back at normal, recognizing that with this defense force, that there could be secure passage into the most important maritime route.
Sree, thanks for pausing here, because I had a couple of questions, sir. It appears that this was a software that probably was taken out, or was this some sort of a software complex that got taken out by the missile, sir?
The hack attack, you mean? It's a software launch which takes out, it's all digital and electronic. So effectively, if your pumps stop working, and your point of sale machines and other things stop working, and you have no mechanism to reach out to your supply in any of these gas stations and begin to pump the gas and run the meter. So they took out effectively. They probably have very close access and much closer access to what happened from a digital electronics point of view. So the software took out the most critical component, the ability to launch this supply pumps and to fill gas and then to collect money. Of course, you can take point of sale and you can still collect cash, but you still need to pump the gas. And you also have fuel reading at the storage levels. That's also digital. So, when it's obviously quite common from a distribution. These are all probably centrally controlled and centrally managed. But the fact that they reached 70% of the gas stations, why not 100%, is probably a forewarning, is a reflection that they have the capacity to attack using the software, Sree.
Viewers, this is the reason why we are saying that, you need to really like this video. There are a couple of videos, but we are a little sensitive to this. We don't want to get flagged. What I'm thinking is we'll probably put it as an unlisted video on channel 2. And this will not be publicized, but the link will be there for you to watch it if you want to. That will happen after this program finishes airing. And Sridharji, we have been getting a lot of complaints from who. We just talked about it. We started the program with that. I'm getting really bombarded with Pakistan stuff, especially after I'd done the series on US Department of State, who are the people there who are inimical towards India and Israel. Oh my God, the bile that you have that's been emitted on comments has to be seen to be believed, Sridharji. I'm diverting from the script here. It is just too much. Somehow they've been carefully keeping all these things concealed for a long time. The CAIR is an organization that is banned in a couple of the Islamic countries. Forget about US. and the US still continues to work with them. For a couple of years, they did not. FBI stopped working with CAIR, but they are back now. All their tentacles are spread over the government organizations. It is really, really, really concerning, because most Indian Americans are coming to this country to make their lives better. They put their head down and try to rise up in their professions. And what is happening is getting blind. They are getting blindsided. That's all I can tell. Let's go on to the next item. Houthi attacks. Are the Houthi attacks coordinated by Iran, Russia, and China to choke supply routes and increase oil prices? Sridharji, this is again a very, very sensitive thing. There was an announcement that was made that some of these tankers will go around the Cape of Good Hope, sir. How is that situation now? And also, how is this happening now?
That's only an assessment rather than a specific passage that is going to be undertaken, or a specific package that is going to be pursued. But very clear, the operations, the operationalization of this Prosperity Guardian Maritime Defense Force is a clear signal of taking out and making sure that there is guaranteed safe passage through this important maritime route through the Suez Canal. We'll show the map next time how important Suez Canal is as you go right up Mediterranean Sea, through the Suez Canal, into the Red Sea, around the bend into Gulf of Aden, and then you are going into the Indian Ocean. This is where this whole strategic map kind of aligns, and this is also the intersection point as it exits the Red Sea and gets into Gulf of Aden. It's also the intersection point for the Persian Gulf, which is the UAE, Oman, and you can see when we show the map, you would probably able to understand where Oman is and relative to where Yemen is within the context of this particular navigation and trade route, and how Yemenis are using this, and Houthis within Yemen are being leveraged by the Iranians. And the Houthis conducted a very big march saying they are not going to be cowed down, and they are going to continue their campaign in terms of launching these drone attacks. They have a mock drone. We will again share the picture of that in the next DGI, right located in their territory, which is to showcase that this is how they are taking on the world power.
Sridharji, one last question before we go to the next topic, sir. The 70% of the Iranian gas station, was the software ineffective for a small period of time, or is it still down?
No, it's back. I am told it is back up. It was taken out for a small period of time.
Okay. Just to give them a ज़्यादा होशियारी दिखाने की कोशिश मत करो. Okay. Next one. Pakistan's defense minister is visiting the United States. So this is a caretaker government. They can't take a lot of decisions. Not that it matters anyway. But what was on the agenda? A new security deal?
No, I think I just want to summarize to people, because there's a lot of misinformation and disinformation that is floating around. First and foremost, they have an agreement called CISMOA, which is Communication Intelligence Security Memorandum of Understanding, that was stalled, and now that has been reset. That was suspended in 2018 and reset. Then they have a GSOMA, which is General Security of Memorandum Information Understanding. They have then LSA, which is named Logistical Security Agreement. Then they have BECA, which is Basic Exchange of Communication Agreement. All these things have been reset, which was suspended, and including the aid that was suspended by Biden himself post Afghan withdrawal. But they've all been reset. They got a $450 million or $400 million aid on the grounds of the F-16 maintenance, which were given on lease, or which were given on a price by United States. They also have, in February 2023, the CENTCOM commander deputy visited, basically to look at how to coordinate a set of defense activities between the two nations. People should also remember in 2022, if it has lost the memory, they are off the FATF, gray list. So they are no longer in the terrorism gray list. So therefore, the free flow of aid can occur to Pakistan. So much of these agreements have all been reset thanks to the efforts of all these people who are sitting within the administration and making sure that the Pakistani who has been who's been a strategic partner for long, is back on the table. Now, there are two other questions which kind of prop up. One is there's a lot of indications and rumors they also want to expand the bilateral trade. Remember, the trade is only about $12 to $14 billion in number between United States and Pakistan. They want to reset that. They want to make sure that that they will have a democratically elected political administration by next year. And some of the developments that is taking place within Pakistan, which is namely Nawaz Sharif coming back, cases suspended. He could be the nominee of the army to become the prime minister, and then between the army and the prime minister, they will coordinate so that there is a democratic elected leader working with the U.S. government. U.S. doesn't work with martial law administrators. They work with people who are politically elected, but sometimes U.S. can be as flexible as well. Remember that the U.S. ambassador in Pakistan has also been visiting certain sensitive areas and creating a little bit of making statements which India did not appreciate. But now, of course, India ignores the abrogation of Article 370, and the judicial process has effectively reset the agenda. So many of these things will disappear, but Pakistan has got its action back within U.S. administration and its strategic interest. The other thing that is also, I am told that, from my sources, is that whether who is going to be and what should be the role of the newly elected Bangladesh Prime Minister is something that is likely to also featured in the discussion. That's of great interest to both Pakistan as well as United States.
Couple of things, Sridharji. 2 days ago, there was a rumor doing the rounds that Dawood Ibrahim had been poisoned and that he was gone. And at the same time, the internet services are completely taken down across Pakistan. The ostensible reason given was that the PTI, the party of Imran Khan, was having a virtual conference. So they wanted to disable that from being attended by people, which is why the internet was taken down. And to try and divert people's attention, the story that Dawood Ibrahim had been poisoned and that he had died in a hospital in Karachi was also floated. We still don't know if that is true or not. We do know that internet services were down, which means that the PTI was not successful in whatever that organizing they did. However, if elections were to be held today, number two, if they are held fairly, Imran Khan would beat Nawaz Sharif quite handily, Sridharji.
I think my view is we have to take news coming from either Pakistan or China or some of these nations with a pinch of salt, Sriji, until the event unfolds itself. So my view is that the army is the custodian of Pakistan. The numbers don't make any difference. They will make sure that that whosoever is there. Remember, Imran Khan was an army candidate. He just wasn't his own self. He sided with the Pakistani army. He was propped up. He was minority, and then he was propped up, and then he became the Prime Minister of Pakistan. He didn't toe the line of the army. He thought that he's far more powerful than them. They cut him to size, and eventually, he lost his space. So therefore, I just don't think that anybody can get away from the influence and the control that the Pakistan army holds, and vast part of it or most of it is from Punjab.
Sridharji, before we go to the next slide, and we have a few more slides to cover, and we'll do it quickly. Last question, sir. A talk that US was going to establish a base in Balochistan to control TTP, as well as to control the BLA, as well as to be able to keep an eye on Iran. This was on the cards also during this discussion. That has not come here. Any idea on that, sir?
From what I have heard, no, that topic that never featured. I don't think United States wants anywhere to be in Balochistan or anywhere in that specific region, with a base. I don't believe so, sir. I don't think. I don't know whether this is a rumor that was floated basically to send some disinformation to the Indian diaspora or the Indian security diaspora. That could be the reason. Other than that, I just don't, at least from my sources, that was not a topic.
Thank you so much, sir. Let's go to the next slide, please. This is about India. Why is the new Maldives president so keen on pushing India out? Sridharji?
Well, there are several reasons, but for example, if you look at Maldives, there are two parties. The one, I think it's called People Nations Congress, that assumed power, is much more pro-China, whereas the previous president, 𝗤𝘅, that party is much more pro-India. So India has got a very strong defense footprint. India has given significant amount of aid, and India also has got military equipment and 70 army personnel stationed. So the whole campaign that the opposition launched was to oust and retain the sovereignty of India. There are two important, at least from my perspective, touch points. One, I believe that there is a police academy that was established, and they say that much of the academy within the island is possibly the suspicion that it would be Indian security diaspora or Indian trained people, which effectively they can use in any election against the opposition. That's one reason that's being pointed out. The second reason that is that they do what they call hydrographic surveys of the islands. The hydrographic surveys of the islands point out, critical entry-exit points. There's always been Maldives wanted to have a self-security and a coast guard, but these surveys, who have access to these surveys, can show entry and exit points of submarines into these waterways. So there's a concern that this information, if it is done, which was being done by India, if the survey continues and sustained, India will have sensitive information access, which potentially compromises Maldives security. Now, whether the Chinese and the Pakistanis, who also have voice with the opposition in Maldives, and the Turkey, whether it also whispered something into their ears. Again, you go back and look at the map, going back from the first segment of the slide, opening out of the exit out of the Red Sea into the Indian Ocean. First island is Seychelles, and then next is Maldives, which is right at the cusp. From a security choke point, Seychelles and Maldives could be very important in the Indian Ocean maritime gateway. So they don't want, probably Chinese have some influence, so they don't want India to be the fulcrum point and controlling the navigation. By the way, into this discussion, Australia, Japan, and United States have joined to make sure that work with India, with Maldives, to give them aid and to make sure the security is compromised. The three nations that I mentioned forms part of the Quad, which doesn't exist. Now you can think about why Quad is important. So these are some of the reasons, Sree. I know I've given you a long and detailed kind of an answer, but it's a very strategic point within the context of the India-Maldives relationships and India-Seychelles relationship, which we have not covered. India-Seychelles is pretty good, but India-Maldives is now in rough waters.
Yes, indeed, and we'll be following that closely. India's External Affairs Minister Jaishankar is set to embark on a key diplomatic visit to Russia later this week, aiming to bolster the strategic partnership between the two countries. Sridharji, we know that India is purchasing oil from Russia, and much of that is rupee-ruble trade. See, one way to kind of balance that out is to export more to Russia. Other things, even goods like, wool, and India has a lot of stuff that they can export to Russia, since Russia is in the middle of a war. What are the things that would be on the discussion table, sir?
I think three important topics are on the discussion. I think first and foremost topic that's on the discussion is that Russia is today is the number one in the list, number one exporter, or India's number one importer, import partner is Russia. From my sources in the markets, the average barrel price is around $80. So our India will be negotiating hard, which is to say, hey, your oil, you're reliant on us, and Europe has dramatically cut your supply. So therefore, get your act together. If you want to persist and continue your economy, you need India more than anybody else, because we have sustained this with you. So there may be some price negotiations going on. Number one. Number two, the second thing that is important is there is this geopolitical, agenda in terms of lack of funding for Ukraine. And so they may be saying to Russia that, okay, enough is enough, figure out a way by which you can exit. There is also now a defense cooperation between United States and Finland. And Finland was, the Finnish prime minister was here, Finnish leadership was here, and the United States, when I say here, making its case that Russia is not stopping with Ukraine. Finland is their next target, obviously. There's a very strong Russian population and Russian connection between Helsinki and St. Petersburg, which is just, stone's throw from Helsinki. So I think this is the other topic, which is namely, let's just keep cool, because otherwise it'll make it very difficult for India if Russia becomes more hostile. Sree. So these are important topics that our India's external affairs minister probably is likely to cover.
Thank you, sir. Sridharji, Oman's Sultan was on a visit of India. It was for several days, which in itself is unusual, which means there were a serious set of talks that were discussed between India and Oman. And viewers, Oman does not advertise much about what it does, but it's a neutral country. It does not take sides with either the Sunnis or the Shias, and they have been very focused on trade. And India has had excellent relations with them. A little bit upon what might have been agreed to, sir. And also, viewers, a small request to like this video. And when on your screen, you will be seeing a super chat button. You can click on that, and then you can put your comments, and these will figure out very high in the chat window that we have open for you. Sir, over to you.
Well, I think Oman has committed and investing $400 million into various projects that India is embarking on. Infrastructure is one of them. There is also cooperation around, India has a security cooperation agreement with Oman, so that is also being strengthened. And logistical LSA, logistical support agreement, there's a military-to-military cooperation between Oman and India that is being reinforced. There's also liberalization of some of the restrictions and tariffs that are placed between free trade between India and Oman to further expand the bilateral trade between the two countries. So economic, security, cultural, and defense were the agenda, and Oman is a very important partner within the context of the entire geo-maritime structure and strategy, which is very important for India. India will soon be crossing $1 trillion trade, and a large chunk of it happens through maritime.
Thank you so much, sir. Now let's take a look at the next piece of news about Southeast Asia. China says that U.S. warship USS Gabriel Giffords illegally entered Chinese waters in the disputed South China Sea. Sridharji, the South China Sea is the one area that has been under contention for close to a year and a half now, or probably longer than that. Ever since DGI has been seriously covering it, we did extensive coverage in the early days. Viewers can go back and look at some of those things. I do see once in a while, Sridharji, one episode will catch fire and it will have like 2,000, 3,000 views because one influencer might have taken the data from that and tweeted it out. So we do see those nuggets just come up. Yesterday there was 191, episode 191 did a lot of views yesterday. I don't know the reason, but these things do happen. Sir, what little I know is that India's submarines are also in play in South China Sea. And what frustrates China, and this is why I think Maldives is happening the way it is happening, is that Indian submarines are quieter. So the Chinese submarines are not able to detect the presence of Indian submarines, and the Indian submarines can easily detect the Chinese submarines because they are noisy. So
But
this is this. Yeah, go ahead, sir.
no, I think your observations around the technicalities of the submarines, I can't. It is well founded and well established, I think. But this is the maritime exercises that was conducted between Philippines and United States, and it's conceivable what China considers as its territory is contested both by Philippines and China. So, United States. So US says, go to hell. Who are you to tell me that this area belongs to you? You have slowly crept in. Again, I go back and we were, one of the first people, thanks to President Obama, he winked his winked, and he winked, and then when he winked, the Spratly Island sprang up, and what was one small, footprint for China, now they have 3 installed military bases in Spratly Island, which is not too far off from Scarborough Shoals and the contested area between Philippines and the Chinese. So the South China Sea, again, if you draw a line, or going all the way from Indian Ocean into this area, you will find that the location that we are talking about is right on a straight line, making its bend towards the Malacca and into the East China Sea. Again, when we will show the map, so it's of strategic importance. So therefore, the maritime security patrols were conducted between Philippines and United States, which frustrated. And this is the neutral territory which is claimed by both countries, Sree. So this is what is going on there, and US is saying we are not going to. Again, that area is another area where we probably cover in what I'll cover in the same point. Is where the North Koreans are launching their nuclear missiles, and United States has sent a nuclear submarine to deter action to the port of Busan.
Yes, indeed. And viewers, after I read these next two items, I have a few more things to share, but let's first go through this. South China Sea remains tense with Chinese balloons across Taiwan and potential sonic weapon being placed in proximity to Philippines. Sridharji, these balloons were actually spy satellites or spy balloons.
They're spy balloons, very similar to the balloons
that flew across the United States. Yeah,
flew across North America. Remember, these balloons were told. We were told at that point of time, some research balloons and some research balloon which went astray and flew across. Now they have confirmed. No, these balloons are spy balloons. This operates in conjunction with their space security, Chinese Space Agency. So both these joint command centers are located in Beijing. We covered this in DGI. Now, of course, I'm with you on the veracity and the capability of the Chinese technologies in terms of its effectiveness. But the fact that they are continuing to use these balloons to exert pressure because Taiwan is in the middle of the elections, it's almost like an implicit threat that is going on, Sree.
Absolutely, sir. And Japan-ASEAN bolstered ties at a summit focused on security and economy amid tensions with China. Before I yield the floor to you, Sridharji, I have one small observation. Right now, it's like China wants to do something in South China Sea, whether it is against a Japanese island or a Taiwanese island or anything like that. I believe, and this is my observation, and I have no proof to back this up, I believe that the US has said, you touch any of that and Spratly Islands is toast. That's what I've heard, sir. Again, I don't have any proof to bolster this. I leave that thought in our viewers' mind, and I'll let you add a little bit more on where you think this is going to be. We have been taking a stance that Senkaku Islands is what China will want to look at. But what is the latest wisdom from Uncle 𝗏𝗍?
The Uncle 𝗏𝗍 is effectively is a man confused, but a man who has refused to yield to the threats. The sonic missile location is a direct, what you call as the aggravation or elevating the threat levels to Philippines just on the eve of Christmas, effectively to say, you conducted these exercises, I can launch a sonic missile right from the cusp and make it a tough Christmas for you guys. Not that he's going to do, but he's capable of, firing something, or he's capable of asking his surrogate, who is in North Korea, to do some mischief. This is what is called as, how do you win a war without fighting a battle? So therefore, China is exerting pressure across all choke points, be it in the northern corridor of India, be it in the southern corridor in the Indian Ocean, and be it in the South China Sea, effectively to say, there is no global leader, I am the boss, and I want to be controlling all this, access paths and trade corridors, and everybody needs to obey and play to my rules.
A rumor is that last week Xi Jinping met with the dictator of North Korea. We don't know if that is true or not, but again, these days, Xi Jinping does not travel by air, and we also don't know where the meeting took place, but the meeting seems to have happened. Anyway, so every time this drumbeat starts going up a notch, usually it is because of a directive from Uncle Xi. Again, I have no proof to say this thing or not, but time will prove us right. That's all I can say. Let's go to the next news item, please. China says US warship illegally entered waters in the South China Sea. Sridharji, over to you, sir.
I think we covered this topic. There's just a pictorial representation of the 𝗣𝗬𝗍𝗄𝐿 𝗍𝗪 making its way into participating in the joint exercises with the Philippines.
Yes. Next one, please. Now we are looking at what is happening in United States. We wanted to save the best for the last. The Biden impeachment inquiry appears to have hit a dead end because, Sridharji?
Because I think Senator Lindsey Graham says there's no smoking gun. There's nothing that connects, Hunter Biden to his father, Joe Biden. We shouldn't be wasting time. If you guys want to conduct, please go ahead and do the circus. But when it eventually comes to Senate, you will find that there's no linkage. So it's very disappointing that the House is still focused on, they should focus on Hunter Biden, but trying to connect Hunter Biden to Joe Biden. It's a fact that Hunter Biden has received payments, both either whether it is from Ukraine or whether it is from the Chinese. That's the truth. But if you want to try and connect Joe Biden to it, then I think good luck to the Republicans.
Yes, indeed. And we already covered about the U.S. nuclear power submarine. Sir, this next one is a concerning one. The CCP-type group is quietly fueling U.S.-based climate initiatives. Tax filings show Energy Foundation China. This happens to be in my state, sir, California. A little bit more light on this, please.
Yes, California is the intersection of the Pacific into the North Atlantic, sir. So you are located in a very strategic point. So you have all these kinds of guys using California, especially San Francisco, San Jose as their base, Sree. $3.8 million they have used to fund. They've used $3.8 million to fund advocacy groups who support climate agenda. What is the climate agenda? Stop fossil fuels, stop coal. Both these things are of strategic importance to China. While they burn coal, while they import coal from Indonesia and Russia and get their, fossil fuel from the Russians and other places, they want United States. Why? So that they again can put pressure on United States and use that as a border point in terms. This is where South China Sea becomes very important. South China Sea has got billions of barrels of fossil fuel and trillion cubic meters of gas, natural gas. Hence, China wants to be the arbitrator of future energy and trade security policy and put United States down. United States is driven by energy, 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 energy. That is the dollar, what you call, besides the private markets, it is the energy which drives the US markets. It's the largest refiner and the largest producer. You take fossil fuels out, you choke United States economy.
Yes, indeed. Drill, baby, drill. Remember that, viewers? So, how safe is the United States today, sir?
How safe is the United States today? Well, we have major crimes going across the country. It is not without reason. Texas yesterday passed a law, Texas governor passed a law to that now their police can arrest illegal immigrants and they can arrest a whole horde of them and put them as a security risk. And that's number one. Number two, we also have seen protests going around the country, and which we have not seen these kinds of movements at very important locations like train stations or the bus stands and important intersections and gateways. Number two. Number three, you also find that the law and order, the general law and order has deteriorated with very slack enforcement. And as far as robbery and thefts in stores are concerned, the level of what you call the threshold is set so high. Unless it is $5,000, $10,000, people will rob $500, $1,000 worth of your wares from your shop. They let go. Cops say we can't do anything. It's too small for us to handle. So what you're witnessing right across the United States is things that you would not have seen 20 years ago in this country, which is namely protests, illegals, general law and order. There's no enforcement, but this spreading right across many states, not just confined to certain states. That's where we started 3 years ago.
Yes, indeed. And next slide, please. This is the one that we're talking about, the Busan submarine. It's just a visual.
Right.
Sree Iyer, I think this brings to an end our slide deck, sir. We can conclude this and then we can call it a program, and we'll be back again on Saturday. Over to you, sir.
Thank you. I think that we couldn't get to Europe or Africa, but as you can see from a geopolitical context, from Israel to United States, there's a lot happening both within domestic and global politics, and the geopolitics is taking and finding new sets of partners, which seems to change every other day. But I think we are in for some turbulent waters, not within the context of economics, but within the context of geopolitics. And economics and geopolitics within the context of uncertainty seems to be running on two parallel tracks. I feel next year, early to mid next year, the Ukraine war has to come to an end because there's not going to be much money flowing into Ukraine. That's the conclusion. And the India-China issue is likely to be a major issue as India and China, especially with 2024 elections in India. I am also here. There's a little kind of a mini pandemic, which is on the onset, which is traversing from China, which has got respiratory infections and cough and those kinds of syndromes. Remember the major events planned in the first quarter of 2024. What consequences and how India is going to combat is going to be very interesting as it navigates these waters, Sree.
Thank you so much, Sree Iyer. Please like, share, and subscribe to our channel, viewers. And this is channel 2 that you are seeing this program from. We're also beaming it live on Twitter and LinkedIn, as well as on Facebook. So wherever you are watching this, please share and also like this video so that we have the maximum reach for this. Thanks once again, Sree Iyer. Namaskar.
Thank you. Have a wonderful day.